guys, welcome back to my channel. For those that are new, welcome to Views by Beck. This is a channel where I talk about inspiration, motivation to become your best self, and I provide insight on different life situations and challenges which we all face, and I'm just sharing the knowledge that I have acquired throughout the years, and I'm sharing it with you all. So if you have not subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button, and also the notification bell. Please hit that bell. That is the only way that you will be informed whenever I upload a new video. Why would you want to miss it? I mean, why would you want to miss it? All right, guys, so I'm going to get right into it. Today I wanted to talk about desire versus vision. And in doing so, I will dive into good versus bad people. So desire, as most of us know, is self-serving. Desire is to benefit ourselves. Desire is to enhance your life. Whereas vision is inclusive. Vision is to change the situation around you, which does not only include and involve yourself, but it also includes other people. I'll get into why I talked and mentioned desire versus vision later on. But the main focus today is good versus bad people. Oh, she's a bad person. Oh, he's a bad person. I want to talk about that a little bit. So let's dive into it. Yeah? Okay. So, I believe that there are no good versus bad people. You know, that's a term that we use loosely. And honestly, it's inaccurate. I'm sorry to tell you, but good people versus bad people, it's inaccurate. You've been lied to. It is wrong. It is not accurate. And I will tell you why. There are joyful people, right? And there are miserable or sad people, right? There are joyful people, miserable or sad. But there are no good or bad people. If you create an atmosphere that's pleasant, people will act pleasantly. If you create an atmosphere that is nasty, what do you get in return? Nasty behavior and unpleasant behavior. It all depends on the atmosphere that you are creating. The moment you start to think that you are good, oh, I'm a good person. You know, there's a person that my husband and I knows, and I won't say no names, don't worry. There's a person that we know, and he's always saying, oh, you know, I'm a good person. I can't believe they did that to me. I'm such a good person. Automatically, you are self-proclaiming that you're a great person and the other person is bad for whatever reason, which, because you see yourself as good, and because they didn't do things the way that you wanted them to do things, or they didn't do what you wanted them to do, you automatically and immediately coin them as bad, right? Wrong. Now, the moment that you start to think that you are good, you start to categorize people as bad, right? And what do? Good versus bad. What do we tend to do? We tend to want to destroy the bad. And that's what people in this world, that's what they do. Once you see yourself as good and you see someone else as bad, the first instinct is to destroy the bad. In doing so, you automatically start to become bad, quote unquote. Because if your aim is to destroy another person, you're just as bad as you say that they are. Now, oftentimes, you know, we have that mindset, and because of that, we have this, you know, racism, classism, sexism. You know, it becomes, we then place ourselves in this category simply because we see other people as bad. Maybe because they don't have the same beliefs that we do. Perhaps because they don't do things the same way that we do. I see this all the time. You know, when someone does something for you in that moment, they are, you know, a very good person. You vouch for them. Oh my God, he's such a great guy. You know, he did X, Y, and Z for me. But the moment that the person doesn't do something for you, what do you say? oh, he's a bad person. You know, can you believe he couldn't do this for me? And I asked him and he couldn't even come to my aid, and, you know, so on and so forth, forgetting the positive thing that they actually did for you. That's because of that mindset of good versus bad, the mindset of, you know, desire, self-serving, not really thinking outside of the box, and basically trying to understand and rationalize why someone would do whatever it is that they did. We automatically just put them in that category of, oh, he's a bad person, he can't come to your aid, you know? So another thing we have to understand is this. Human beings are in different levels of understanding and in different levels of knowledge, right? The knowledge that you have acquired throughout the years doesn't necessarily make you a good person, or it doesn't make you a better person than someone else simply because the person lacks that knowledge, or simply because the person, you know, grew up in a different environment where they didn't have the resources that you had to acquire those knowledge. The beauty of, you know, the beauty of life is variety. You know, you look different, you talk different, you act different, you know, you eat different foods, you know, you use different languages, you speak different languages, you know, you think differently from someone else. That is what we call individuality. And once we start to only see one way as good and another way as bad, you start to miss out on the beauty of the world. You start to miss out on the positivity and the positive things in other people, because you are so honed to, if you're not doing things my way, you're a bad person. And that right there is wrong. It's inaccurate, which is why I do not believe in, you know, good versus bad. Some may actually just lack the knowledge and, you know, the information that you have acquired throughout the years. Does that make them bad? No, not at all. Are you willing to share the information and the knowledge that you've acquired? That's what you need to ask yourself. Now, if you're so self-serving, you have to think about, now that I have all this information and all this knowledge and this person lacks it, am I willing to share that information with that person? Because if you're not sharing the information that you have acquired throughout the years, which someone else lacks, if you're not willing to share that with that person, then technically you're the bad guy, because you're hoarding information. You then become a selfish person, you know, because you no longer have a vision. What you have is a desire. And that can be very detrimental to the world around us. So we have to be very cautious of that whole mindset of vision versus desire. Sorry, disregard my kids. The truth is, in order to make a peaceful life, you have to be willing to share your resources and share the information that you have with other people. You have to be able to share those things in order for them to grow. That is what we call vision. That positively impacts the world versus desire, which only affects you, self-serving. Unless you live in a bubble in your home or wherever, you will somehow encounter the world. It's inevitable that you will encounter the world. So no matter how much growth you are personally having, you know, no matter how much resources and knowledge that you personally have, what good is it if you are not sharing that with the world? How are you benefiting the world around you? Because the way you treat the world is the way they will treat you right back. So if you're not pouring those things into the world, into people, how is it that you want to have a peaceful life outside of your little bubble, outside of your home? Because once you step out of your front door, you are going to come encounter with different people. What exactly do you want to receive from those people? If you're hoarding the information that you have and you're calling them bad people, what's the impact and what's your impact on the world around you? That's what we need to ask ourselves. I want you guys to think about this for a minute. If you oppress people, you start to oppress people, you know, you deny them of basic amenities such as food, jobs, you know, etc. They will eventually start to die of hunger. And what happens? The only way and the only defense mechanism for survival will be for them to steal. Does that make them a bad person? It doesn't make them a bad person. They literally are trying to survive. And I think in society, what we tend to do is, oh, you stole something. You are evil. You should be in jail for 1,000 years. Why did they do that? That's what we need to ask ourselves. I'm not saying that stealing is okay, and I'm not saying that it's good to steal. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do or not. What I'm saying is intentions. Why is the person doing what they're doing? When you start to oppress someone, you deprive them of the information that can help them grow. What tends to happen is they're backed in a corner, and then they have to do whatever it is they have to do to survive. That's just life, right? So we have to think for a minute about intentions. Why do people do what it is that they do? I am so big on intentions. If someone says something to me or does something to me, the first thing I try to think is why. And I ask them, why? It's good for you to understand why someone did something. Knowing the intentions of that person and having a better understanding of that person will be able to make you process things a little bit better without tagging them as bad people. Now, to impact the world, you have to step outside of your comfort zone. You really have to step outside of your comfort zone. Oftentimes, we're so quick to anger and mental disturbance at the slightest thing. Do you guys want to know why we do this? Because we have a need to control people. For some reason, human beings love controlling other people. I attribute that to desire, self-serving. When you start to only think about yourself, what you can gain out of something, you being heard, and only you, what tends to happen is, you easily get irritated and agitated and angry because someone else doesn't see things the way you see things, or because someone else isn't doing something how you want them to do it. We try to control other people, and that is wrong. You are only in control of yourself. When you try to control other people, what you're doing essentially is you're bringing so much stress to your life. Because one thing in this life is this: you can never control another person. Honestly, not even your kids. I have 3 children, okay? I have a 4-year-old, I have a 3-year-old, and I have an 8-month-old. And guess what? I cannot control my children, even as they're that young. What my husband and I understand is this: they have their own minds. No matter how young they are, they have their own minds, right? It's better to explain something to a child than for you to try to control what they're doing, even as they're that young. Because if you try to control them, you will just end up frustrated, overwhelmed, angry, right? And then I think that's why a lot of parents beat their kids, because you're so stuck on controlling it. You do it this way, you do it this way, not allowing them to just be themselves and figure out what it is that they want to do and how they want to do it, And I think that once we let go of that control issue of trying to control someone other than ourselves, we will be more at peace. We will let go of a lot of stress, because it's honestly stressful to control someone else. Like you will be so focused on yourself. If you are focused on yourself and trying to gather your thoughts, your actions. Now think about the stress of trying to control someone else's life. It's very stressful, and it's almost impossible. So it's important for us to understand that you can only control yourself. You cannot control someone else. And that's the reason why a lot of us basically get angry. We become irrational once we get to that point of anger, because we desperately want to control someone else's actions, and we get frustrated, and that's not the right thing to do. That's not the right way to do things. So if you want to live a peaceful life, let go of trying to control someone else. You just can't. Okay? You can only control yourself, if you can even control yourself. Let's work on that. Okay? All right. Now, I want you to think about this for a second. Have you ever had a conversation with someone and it felt like you were talking to a wall? I cannot be the only person that has encountered such. You're having a conversation with someone, you know, on whatever topic it may be, or maybe you guys had a disagreement and you decided to meet up and talk about it, or you're talking over the phone, or whatever the case may be. And it just felt as though you were talking to yourself. It's like a brick wall, you know. Here's why. Whatever you're saying to that person, it wasn't penetrating the eardrums. They were so busy on desire, self-serving. What do I have to say? You're going to hear how I feel, and that's all that matters. And I'm going to control the dialogue, whereas I'm going to get the outcome that I want, which is self, right? And as a result, whatever you're saying starts to get blocked out. They're not listening to you. You're talking to yourself, and you're like, did you hear what I just said? They didn't hear anything you just said, because they entered the conversation with the mindset of self, with the mindset of desire, right? So when this happens, you know, it's important for us to understand that this is happening and step away. Because at the end of the day, if they enter the conversation with the mindset of only being heard and not willing to listen, what then happens is you just end up talking to a wall. It's not productive at all. And then you get frustrated because they didn't hear what you're saying. They get frustrated because they're not getting the outcome that they wanted. So as a result, you just have to exit that conversation. Now, if you are the other person who is walking into a conversation with just your desire being heard, or, you know, with just your desire or your intention and your motive, and not really trying to listen to what someone else has to say, my advice would be this. When you're going into a conversation with another person, please understand that they are an individual. They matter. They need to be heard as well. Okay? So going into a conversation with a vision of coming to a conclusion that benefits both parties will really help you a long way, versus going in there just to be heard. Okay? And I think it's important to hold ourselves accountable, because sometimes we do that and we're not even aware that we're doing it. But it's important to hold ourselves accountable and to make sure that we are communicating effectively in order to reduce our anger, stress, and, you know, because of the need to control the situation. Communicating with someone that doesn't have the same belief as you should not be exhausting. It shouldn't be draining. It shouldn't lead to, you know, angry situations. It really shouldn't lead to you being so stressed out. You just have to be willing to listen. Now, if you are so quick to anger, or if someone else other than yourself has the ability or the control to determine how you feel on the inside within yourself at any given moment, that is what I call mental slavery. It's a really, really sad thing. If anyone other than you has the power to control how you're feeling on the inside, that's mental slavery. And we need to work on that. Okay? Because no one else should have control over how you're feeling but you. Be in control of yourself, you know, by freely willing to listen. Whatever the outcome may be, it's okay. You listened, you said your piece respectfully, and that's that. So losing that control, or the need to control, desperately wanting to control the situation, will really help us a long way in shedding a lot of stress. I'm going to leave you with this question. When you operate out in the world, are you operating solely on desire, or you're operating solely on vision? I want us to think about that for a moment. Are you operating out of desire when you step out of your home, when you interact with other people in the world, or are you operating based on vision, which is to impact the world in a positive way? Think about that for a moment. Leave your comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in. I hope I was able to bring some light and some insight to this topic. And the next time you step outside, please be mindful of what you say to people. Do not tag people bad. Do not miss out on the positive side of a person simply because they did something you did not agree with. Okay? Thank you guys. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. And I'll see you on my next video. Bye-bye.